Well, the subject is myths about learning English. For me as a teacher, of course, it's a very um, interesting topic. Like, I have to deal with a lot of students that have unreal expectations, maybe about learning English, or maybe they don't know some moments about learning English. And today, yeah, we will talk about maybe some of the most common myths, misconceptions that people have about learning English. And yeah, let's start. As people are joining us, you can probably ask me questions in the YouTube chat. Or if you're watching this, after the stream is over, you were watching like the video on YouTube, you can leave your questions down below, and maybe somebody from our company will ask you and contact you. If you have any questions about like maybe the lessons or anything like that, you have the information on the screen. And yeah, let's just begin. So the first one, of course, it's we teachers get this questions. This we get this question a lot. How long does it take to learn English? And it's a very well. All of us teachers, we say that it's a stupid question, and we get asked pretty often. And there is, of course, no answer, obviously, for this question. So for different people, it's different things. It depends on what you consider by learned English. So for some people, if I barely speak and I'm able to communicate in English, they consider that it's a good level of English. For some people, it's like, you need to read American literature, understand everything perfectly, maybe read some scientific articles and know everything about it, like to understand everything that you see in those. And of course, there is like how, like, a lot of people are different. We're all different. And like for some people, it's easier to learn a language. For some people, it's more difficult. So with different people, it's different things. It depends on how much time you are willing to dedicate to learning English, how much effort you put into it, and a lot of things like a lot of factors you need to count in when you talk about how long it's going to take. So we teachers, we hate this question. We cannot answer that. But in my experience, like if you are doing regular English practice like almost every day, you don't have to do like many hours, but maybe like an hour, 2 hours every day. You're learning a lot of words. You put effort into it. You can, master a language pretty fast. It's not just English, it's pretty much every language. Maybe apart from like Asian languages with like characters, they're a little bit more difficult. But for European languages, for English, I think you're looking at something like 2 years of regular practice, learning a lot of words, gaining vocabulary, and practicing things in real life. And yeah, 2 years, you might be at a decent level of English. And I think it's a really good result if you're like hitting that 2 year mark and you're able to speak, communicate, understand, write, and basically you have no problem communicating in English. That's fantastic. So that's the first one. And the myth is, what is the myth? Well, maybe you heard, you saw on the internet, maybe like even in some English courses that English in 3 months, like maybe English in 2 weeks or something like that. And basically, what those courses do, or maybe application online that you use for like English in 3 months, they give you like a crash course into grammar, and pretty much that's it. So like those courses, they give you the grammar preparation and nothing else apart from that. So of course grammar is not enough. Like knowing grammar really well is not going to help you communicating on different topics. So you need a lot of vocabulary. And with this topic, of course, myth number two: how many words do I need to learn, or maybe to speak properly, to speak at a decent level? And there is this number, like different numbers, of course, floating around. But in my experience on the internet, like people say 2,000 words is enough for, communicating on pretty much any topic. So 2,000 words, it's like the perfect amount that you need. And after that, English. Like you got it. Like, and of course, that's a myth, fake news. Okay, as maybe Donald Trump would say. That's not true, of course. You're gonna need a lot more than that if you're like looking at C1 advanced level, and even upper intermediate. Like upper intermediate student, you're supposed to know like around 6,000 words. So I think most of us, like Russian students, when they start, we already know like maybe 200, 300, or maybe even 400 words when we only start learning English. And let's maybe do a quick math. If I need to get level B2, which is upper intermediate, and it's probably 5 to 6,000 words, like how many words do I have to learn every day to like get that 6,000 maybe in 2 years' time? And you'll probably find that it's like, I'm really bad with math, but you'll probably find that it's more than like 5, 6 words a day. And some people say that, oh, it's easy, like 5 days a week, I can maybe do 7 words. It's fantastic, no problem. But actually, the problem is like doing that consistently, throughout 2 years. That's actually very challenging for a lot of people. And I had like different webinars about like how to learn words in English, how to gain vocabulary. That's a different topic. But like this myth that 2,000 words it's enough. No, it's not enough. You're probably gonna need a lot more if you want to speak in English at a decent level. Much more than that. Okay. So maybe next myth, it's something that a lot of people say. I can live in a English speaking country and master English in like months, basically. So just living there in English speaking environment, it's gonna be a huge like a huge advantage for you as a student. It's partially true. Like if you live in a country and you have like real environment where people speak English regularly, that's really good. That's fantastic. But it doesn't mean that your learning process will be much faster, actually. So again, you have the same problem. You need to learn a lot of words, and if you're not doing that in an English speaking country, like nothing changes in terms of gaining vocabulary, right? So you still need a lot of words. You still need to work on grammar. So a lot like do you think you're gonna get grammar just by talking with like native people? And a lot of native people like they use grammar that's not correct, improper grammar. So of course you're gonna need to spend some time on that apart from communicating with native speakers. So all of those things are very important. And of course, if you have the opportunity to maybe study to learn a language abroad, maybe in the United States or in Great Britain, that's fantastic. Like it will help you with learning process, but do not expect that your English will be perfect in a few months. That's a big misconception that people have when they maybe go abroad to study for a few months and they expect like massive results. So, but that being said, I think it is like if you have this opportunity to study abroad and to maybe go to a language school in the United States or Great Britain, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And all that practice with the native speakers is going to help you immensely, immensely. Okay, so that was maybe myth number 3. Okay. Next one, English is a very easy language to learn for a Russian person. So I heard that a lot. Again, maybe on the internet, or maybe some of my students even say or think that it's the case. In my experience, it is not the case. Like, it's not true. It's not true. For a Russian person, English is not an easy language. I don't think there's any language that's actually very easy to like learn, to master. But English is definitely not one of the easiest. Okay, I think that maybe learning Spanish or Italian or even German, like it's much easier than learning English, much easier, especially when it comes to pronunciation. Russian pronunciation in English, it's very difficult to get rid of. And I know a lot of people that have lived in the United States for many, many years, and they still have like thick Russian pronunciation, thick Russian accent. And yeah, it's not an easy language. It's not an easy language, definitely. The sounds, like the way Americans and British people make sounds is completely different compared, to Russian language. And it's actually also true, like about Americans coming to Russia. Like I have like a few American friends in Moscow, or I know like actually a lot of people that are foreigners and they try to learn Russian, and for them, it's even more difficult than for us to learn English. It's much more difficult. So, our languages, like Russian language and maybe English, they are not similar. There's nothing similar about it. We have some similar words that came from like English language into Russian language, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy for us to learn English, or it's like a similar language and it's like very easy to learn it. No, it's not. It's not true actually. And maybe the last thing that I hear a lot, and I know why people and what people spread this myth is that you cannot learn English without a teacher. So I'm a teacher, and I'm telling you that it's absolutely possible to learn English without a teacher. So what is the teacher for? Teacher is for helping you navigate, helping you maybe give you some advice about like best methods, how to learn things. Teacher will correct your mistakes maybe when you are practicing speaking, or maybe like he will give you some interesting information about culture, or maybe some interesting idioms and phrases. So teacher is of course a very useful person to have around, like no question about it. But it doesn't mean that you cannot learn a foreign language all by yourself. Like actually, I am living proof that it's not true. I never had a teacher, and yeah, I used like self study books, like grammar books. After that, I switched to like watching a lot of TV shows, and actually, English got a lot more fun for me. And you definitely can learn English without anyone's help. So, is it a little bit more difficult? Yes. And for some people, it might be a lot more difficult. For example, if you do not have a lot of discipline and you're the kind of person that needs to be pushed often, you probably need a teacher for that purpose, not because it's impossible to learn a language all by yourself. And if that's you, maybe yeah, maybe you need a teacher. And it's not even a teacher like a personal trainer, somebody who will push you and somebody who will control you and not let you, like somebody who will not cut you slack, and somebody who will pay attention to you, kind of trying to avoid learning things. And yeah, maybe that's you and you need a teacher, but actually no, I think it's absolutely possible to learn a language. By the way, if you're that person, a lazy guy, there's no problem like with that. English can be fun and interesting. Learning doesn't have to be like boring, hard, and it doesn't have to be a struggle. It can definitely be interesting, but yeah, be ready that you will need to spend a lot of time learning things. And yeah, just like something that you need to be mentally prepared for. And yeah, that's basically all the myths like that I wanted to mention. They're like the most popular myths around on maybe on the internet. And of course, you can find a lot more than that. And it's something that a lot of people, they struggle with in the beginning if they don't know, like, how did that guy learn English in 2 weeks or in 2 months? And actually, they think that it's true that some people, in a very short period of time, their English becomes perfect. Usually, that's never the case, and maybe like the level that that person has, it's like I don't know, intermediate, pre-intermediate, and but like to give you maybe guys some good news, like I do think that it's possible maybe in under a year, or sometimes if it's like really intensive training in under 6 months, to get to an intermediate level in any foreign language. So an intermediate level is basically where you start understanding, having conversations, and reading, listening to things, a real speech, not like slowed down version of it that we teachers do. Like if you understand a real average, maybe American, or I don't know, French guy, British guy, German guy, you're probably like looking at a intermediate level, and that is probably where you have like 2,000 words vocabulary, which is possible in like 6 months if you're learning a lot of words every day. So it is possible to get to that intermediate level, but do not think that getting to that intermediate mark, it means that you are perfect with, mastering this language. Of course, it's not the case. Of course, it's not the case. So, but yeah, if you remember maybe from like our previous webinars, something that I always tell my student to maybe encourage them is that there are some boring aspects to learning any language. Like, for example, I consider most of the grammar topics, they're not really interesting, right? So, of course, you can make them interesting if you're a teacher and you're trying to like maybe teach it in a maybe non-standard way. But for most people, let's face it, grammar is not the most interesting thing in the world. But once you like deal with a large portion of like maybe English grammar or grammar of any language, and you get like minimum amount of vocabulary to speak with normal average people. This is when you start watching a lot of TV shows, and this is when English gets fun, interesting, and of course, it's something that I always tell my students before intermediate. Maybe it's not the most fun activity in the world, but after that, English becomes actually very, very nice, and there are so many things on the internet that you can watch in English, interesting things. If you have a hobby, like you can probably find that on YouTube in English and like enjoy watching the videos that you normally watch in Russian, but you do that in English. And like you're killing two birds with one stone. You're watching something interesting, something that you like, and at the same time, you're having English practice, and it's fantastic for learning purposes. So yeah, do that. Do that. For me personally, it was of course TV shows. I remember when I first started watching a lot of TV shows, like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And it's of course really good listening practice. A lot of like modern phrases, vocabulary, idioms, and all that stuff. Like you're absorbing, and it's just fantastic practice for you as a student. Maybe for you it's gonna be something different. Maybe you will like watch or read something online, or maybe you will try to use your English in real life environments, speak with a lot of native people, or try to find speaking clubs in Moscow. Maybe that's your thing. So, yeah, do whatever works for you, but remember, do not get fooled by a lot of people on the internet saying that, English, it's super easy to learn. You can do it in under like 6 months or whatever. Even 1 year, it's not enough to learn English or any other foreign language, I think, at a decent level. So, yeah, make sure that you do not get fooled. Practice. Regular practice is very, very, very important, okay? Work on that vocabulary, work on speaking, listening, writing. Remember that all of those skills you're going to have to practice separately. So, it's not just like you can practice all of them together, right? So, to practice listening, you need to, of course, listen to a lot of native people, TV shows, movies, videos, whatever. Speaking, of course, it's something that you're going to have to do with other people. If you have the opportunity to speak with natives, that would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. If no, try to speak with maybe people that have a higher level of English than what you have. And of course, writing if you need. Like you will need to practice, and actually I think writing you can even do with like some applications online that can check the spelling and the grammar that you have. You can probably Google some of those. I do not use any of them, so I would not be able to maybe recommend something specific, but if I'm sure that you can find something like that that can be useful for practicing your writing skills. So yeah, guys, I think that's it for our little presentation talk. I did not see anyone in chat today. So if you're watching this after the stream is over, maybe on YouTube, you can leave your comments down below. And of course, you can contact us by using the information that you see on the screen. I think it's like right over there. And yeah, make sure like to follow the videos. Remember that we have like two more teachers on our platform. Alex, like he usually has classes on Fridays. He's our native speaker from Alabama. And also we have Alana. She's like our fellow teacher, and she also has classes usually on like Monday, Wednesday. They are amazing. Check out their videos as well. And yeah, if you have some questions, please contact us and let us know. So thank you guys for watching, and yeah, have a great day. Have a good one.